just wanted to quickly say that I'm going to be using this photo reference to create a full tutorial, and I'm going to film it and break it up into small manageable videos. Sorry, that's Penny under my desk. Small manageable videos that you can work from, and I'll be uploading them all to this YouTube channel. So if you want to follow along with this tutorial, so just subscribe to this page and I'll be uploading the videos. So let's just get started with picking out some colours. The colours that I pick out now are not going to be all of the colours that I use in this drawing. I just want to pick out the main ones and the main colours that I'm going to use to build up the fur colour. So what I do is, this is just a scrap bit of Fabriano, so the same paper that I'm going to be drawing the portrait on, which is quite important because different papers have different colours and hues to them. Some of them can be warm, almost yellowy, some of them are like a really cool white. So if I'm colour matching, I like to use the same paper that I'm going to be doing the drawing on. So if ever I'm cutting down sheets of Fabriano for commissions or anything like that, I keep every single scrap just for this reason, so I can colour match. And also I like to have, as I'm drawing, I like to have some Fabriano next to me just to scribble on to colour match as I'm working on a portrait. So I've got this and I'm gonna just create a bunch of colours that I will put to the side for this portrait. To start with, I have my staple colours, so I'll always use a Faber-Castell Polychromos Dark Indigo, and I'll also always use a dark sepia. I use these to build up the darkest areas of any portrait, really, unless it's maybe white fur or something like that, but 95% of the time I always use both of these pencils. So already I'm going to put those aside, put them in there. So to build up this brown warmy red colour, I'm going to sort of, in my head, split this up into the darkest areas and the lightest highlight areas, like under her eyes, this part of her nose here. I've got out some of my pencils ready. I've got my browns, my reds and my pinks and purples. So let me go for probably building up the darkest areas. I get my paper, and then, like I say, so I'm going to start with the dark indigo, as I normally use that as a base to lay colours over the top. And then just on the corner of this paper, I'm gonna colour in just a little sort of square like this, very lightly, because as I was saying, this would be a base for my darkest areas. So now I'm gonna hold this up right next to this dark area here. So you can see that I need to build up a lot of colours to make this match. I'll just zoom in a little bit actually. Maybe try that one. Okay, so I've just overlaid the dark indigo with a Polychromos walnut, is it walnut brown? 177, this one's quite short, so part of the name's gone, but walnut brown. And you can see it's a better match, but it's still not there. It's nowhere near dark enough. But this colour is also quite warm, so I think I'm gonna overlay a purple. Try this. Yeah, see, that's starting to look more of a match now. So this is the Polychromos Manganese Violet, which is another pencil that I use a lot. So I'm just sort of glazing this. I would say, I don't know how it looks on the camera, but in real life, that's a pretty good match, because then in the darkest areas, you can grab a black pencil and glaze over. Sometimes it's nice as well with brown dogs like this. I then like to go in with a red, just any red, a bright. What have I got here? Scarlet red, polychromos, and just glaze over the darkest areas, and it just warms it up nicely. So I would say that's a pretty good match. So what you can do here, if you want to be really organised, is write down what you use. So let me just get a pencil. So to create this tone, I used dark indigo, polychromos. I've already forgotten, so this is why I recommend writing it down. Where was that brown? I think it was walnut brown, wasn't it? I don't know where it's gone. But yes, it was. So it was walnut brown. And then I went over that with the manganese violet. Glazed it with the scarlet red. And then also for the darker areas, you can use the black. So now I know that when I then go to draw, I can use this card. So say if I was gonna go on to this bit, I'd go like this, see that that's a pretty good match, and then I would know to use these pencils. Now let me just zoom out, because you'll find that this same colour will be matched in other areas of the photo reference. So for example, I can see that this here just about matches here. So I would also know that when I come to draw this area, to use the same pencils, and that way it will match up correctly. Same as over here, the sort of darkest areas of the ear, maybe above there as well, and then there's a bit on the leg. So that's sorted for the darker areas. Okay, so now I'm just going to pick a different colour. So let's just go for probably, now there's a mid-tone. It might not come up as well in this video, but here you've got the darkest section here, and then you've got the more, it's slightly lighter, it's still dark, but a purpley area here, which is also in the leg, it's also up here in the ear. So let's work on that next, because I think it's going to be similar to this one. So I'm going to move up on my paper a little bit, and again I'm going to start with a dark indigo base, polychromos. Okay, so this is a lot more purpley than this one. So I'm going to skip the brown, the walnut brown, and I'm going to go straight in with the manganese violet. Okay, so that's still nowhere near where we need it. Okay, so I've gone in with the manganese. I need to remember this time. Let me have a look. What have we got? What about this one? Okay, that is starting to match up well now. So I've just added a luminance burnt sienna, and I think I need to go over it with a pinky purple colour. So let me get my purples. Let's have a look. Maybe this one. Let me just sharpen this one. Try almost a bit of a glaze. Yes, So that was Polychromos Middle Purple Pink. And then I'm going in with a Prismacolor. There we go. I think that's a pretty good match now. So this is a Prismacolor Nectar, Prismacolor Premier. So now I'm just going to write those down. So I started with dark indigo, Polychromos again, and then I went straight into the manganese violet, didn't I? What was next? Oh, it was the Luminance Burnt Sienna. And then I went in with the Prisma Nectar. There, so now we've got two tones. So then I'm just gonna move on up now to one of the lighter ones. But you'll see, so you can hold this up. That's a good, it might not look as good a match on the camera, but it's in real life, that's a pretty good match. And then you can just sort of see, so there's a little bit here and here, there. And then as you're drawing, so for example, this here is very similar to this, but there's some slightly darker areas. So as I was drawing this, I would probably colour it in using these, making this colour, and then maybe add a dark sepia for the darker areas. So you don't have to sort of religiously stick to these. It's just a good indicator for almost like the base colours of each section. That's a pretty good match for up there as well. So now let's go to the soft fluffy bits of fur that she's got here on her chest. Let's try and match one of those up. So it's very similar to this. I'm almost just going up in tone, slightly lighter, slightly pinker. So I'm not going to start with the dark indigo now. I feel like it's a little bit too light for that. I'm going to start with maybe the burnt sienna. Is it the burnt sienna? Yes, the Luminance Burnt Sienna. Just to get that brown base down. Okay. I'm going to go in with the Middle Purple Pink. You'll find that you'll probably use like a lot of the same pencils because it's all really the same colour, it's just different tones of that colour. So I'm just going to glaze that burnt sienna with the Polychromos Middle Purple Pink. And then I think I'm just going to go in with the Prisma Nectar to just blend all that together. And I think that's a pretty good match. As I say, there are some areas that are this colour, but slightly orangey. So maybe as I was drawing, like down here, these particular areas I could just glaze with a Polychromos Burnt Ochre, just to get that warmth in there. As I say, this is more of a base, and then as you're actually drawing, or as I'm drawing this piece, I will grab other colours and sort of add to it. But it's really good to have these values as a base. So let me write that down. So we started with the Luminance Burnt Sienna, and then I glazed it with the Polychromos Middle Purple Pink. And then I just went in with the Prismacolor Nectar. And then you can glaze with the Polychromos Burnt Ochre as well if you want to. There we go. So I've got those three colours which pretty much make up this whole area. I've got some lighter tones here, but I can see that, for example, this bit, it's pretty much this colour, but then it's got some highlights. So I would probably do this colour, but then go in with a white Pablo just to lighten it, or even a really light pink, something like that. But we've got those 3 base colours now, and you'll probably find a lot of these colours in other parts of the image. So we've got a lot of the darker tones here. We've got this tone here, also in the ear and on the head. Yeah, up here, you see those 2 match quite well. So what have we got now? So we've got the nose to match up. So I'll probably match up some of these lighter areas. Now this is also more of sort of like a desaturated browny orangey colour. So I probably will use some different pencils now. Let me have a look. I'm going to start with a Prisma Burnt Ochre, very lightly. It's quite an orangey brown. And then I'm going to burnish that slightly with the Prisma Nectar. So that colour is matching some of these areas down here, but for this lightest area, try the white. Yes. So this is a Pablo white. So I'd say that's a pretty good match for these lighter areas. We've just used these 3 pencils to make this nice sort of light browny pink colour. So let me just, again, write these down. That's a really good base to work from. I don't think I would need much more than that. What I will do is create this, there's a strong highlight under here and here, and under her eye here as well. So I'll match that one up. Let's have a look. So for this highlight here, I'm going to use the Pablo Hazel very lightly, just as a base. And then I'm going to burnish with the Luminance Butternut. And then I just want to lighten the whole thing with the Pablo White. Perfect. So that's great for these highlights. So that was the Pablo Hazel, the Luminance Butternut, and the Pablo White. Now I haven't managed to get this pinky colour here, but it's similar to this. It's almost just a lot lighter. I think I'm just going to try the Prisma Nectar again, and then maybe just burnish it with some Pablo White. Let's try that. Yes. Then just in this area, a bit more white. But that matches there well. So this one was Prisma Nectar and Pablo White. Now this grey tone, grey pink tone on the top of the nose, I think, Let me try. Yeah, that's a pretty good match. So that one is Prisma Nectar. Pablo, what's this one, light grey? And Pablo White. Now, I think, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 good tones there that we can really use as a really good base to build up the all of the fur. So what pencils have we used? We've used dark indigo, a walnut brown, the manganese violet I've used a lot. I tend to do a lot of glazing with purples and reds with brown fur. So a lot of sort of light browns, but then also a lot of pinks as well for the highlights, because you'll find that the highlights in this image, disregarding the eyes, just in the fur, the highlights in the fur, you might be tempted to draw them a lot lighter than what they are. That's why it's really good to have this little chart to match up your colours, just to make sure it's right, because that's how you're going to get the real, you know, the really good realism in your drawings. So I think that's all I need for now. So yeah, I really recommend trying this. I do it pretty much every time I do a drawing now. I just find that it's really helpful, and it just really ups my level of realism in my pieces. So there we go. Say bye, Penny. Say bye. Is everybody going to be drawing Penny? Yeah. Is everyone going to be drawing you, Penny?